Welcome into Pony Pundits. It is time for the Belmont Stakes on Saturday. Race 13 at Saratoga. That post time 7:04 Eastern. I'm Kelly Stewart, joined today by Marco D'Angelo and, of course, Sean Alvarez from WagerTalk.com. All right, guys, we're going to get right into these 8 horses. Top to bottom here, I'm going to just rattle right through. I want honest opinions, starting with Sean Alvarez. Hill Road, currently 10-1.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting horse, especially with the price of 10-1. You can't really fault, the human connections of this horse. Being ridden by Irad Ortiz, trained by, Chad Brown. Obviously, big connections going into this race, but it's going to need to step up a little bit. This horse started over in Ireland and then was brought over into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile race over at Del Mar, where he was 61-1, but, ran a solid third place finish, giving him a little bit of Kentucky Derby points. So the connection saw fit to leave him in North America, move him over into the Chad Brown barn, try to get in the Kentucky Derby, which didn't necessarily pan out with a third place finish in the Tampa Bay Derby. He did come back to win the Peter Pan Stakes after stumbling at the start, and it was a good running finish. But, the real question is, who did he beat in that race? And, how is he gonna, respond going up against a much deeper field in, a grade 1 Belmont Stakes up at Saratoga?
Marco, right now we have we'll call it a 2-horse race for first place, but Sovereignty is 2-1 currently. You guys may remember this horse from the Kentucky Derby. Marco, talk to me about this horse, and should they be in every single one of your exact and trifecta boxes?
Well, Sovereignty got the perfect trip in the Kentucky Derby, Kelly, and it was the difference in beating journalism. He was able to follow journalism around the track. I thought journalism might have made his move just a tad too soon, and after journalism got the lead, deep stretch, Sovereignty was able to come off of his back and pull away in the final strides to win the Derby. Sovereignty is a stone-cold closer. Typically, that's not the best style for this race. Now, remember, this is not the normal 1.5 miles of the Belmont, because the Belmont racetrack is under renovations. So for the second year in a row, this race will be run at 1.25 miles instead of 1.5 miles, and it'll be run at Saratoga. That's going to hurt Sovereignty a little bit in this race. Could he get another great trip? Yeah, the possibility of that is here. And even though he will be coming from behind, he's not going to be coming from as far back as it was in a 19-horse field in the Kentucky Derby. This horse is a horse you've got to have on the ticket in your exactas and tries. Can he win the race? Well, you'll hear what I have to think about that at the end of the show.
All right, before the show, the guys asked who my dad likes. And of course, he's on the Bob Baffert horse, Rodriguez. They're at 6-1. Sean Alvarez, break down this horse for me.
Yeah, so this is more of the, the class of the 2 pace horses that are going to really set those quick fractions, or at least, what I'm handicapping that we're going to see at least in the first quarter mile, first half of the mile of the race. The last time that we saw this horse run was in the Grade 2 Wood Memorial at Aqueduct, where he was kind of left on his own, setting really just workout type fractions. And even when doing that, he wasn't really eyeballed. The closest anybody got to him was a half length back, and he really just kind of kicked on from there. But again, who did he beat in that race? And, what kind of benefit did that race, give to him as far as the pace fractions that he saw? I don't necessarily think that he's going to get the pace that we saw in that Wood Memorial race with the likes of the number 5 Crudo. And I think the big knock on this horse is he's never passed another horse in the stretch of any race. So he really needs his head in front, but how fast is he going to have to go to get his head in front? But, like you mentioned, he's trained by a Hall of Fame trainer in Bob Baffert, who's won the Belmont Stakes 3 times, and, being ridden by Money Mike Smith. And you don't get a nickname like Money and being basically given into the Hall of Fame unless you're one of the top ridden jockeys in the country. So, big human connections, and, we'll see what the pace of the race plays out as far as the, once those gates open.
If you are new here to Pony Pundits, you did miss Sean hitting the exacta and trifecta for the Preakness. He had Gosger finishing in second place at 15-1. He has a full card of selections as well as some best bets for Saratoga's card leading up and through the Belmont Stakes. You can get both of those right now, Saratoga and Belmont packages, for $30. WT.buzz/SA. Marco, you get my favorite horse name of the Belmont, Uncaged, of course, at 30-1. These are the types of problems where you're going to get the wreck bettors because they just want to bet on a horse with a crazy name.
Yeah, and if you are betting on a horse with a crazy name, you're also crazy as well, because I don't understand why in the world Todd Pletcher has entered this horse in this particular race. Now, anytime you see Todd Pletcher and a jockey like Luis Saez, you want to take a look at the horse, but this horse doesn't belong in this field. Now, oftentimes when a trainer has two horses in a race, one of the horses is entered to help the other horse. But this doesn't make any sense because the other horse in this race, Crudo, is going to be near the front. So if you wanted this horse to help Crudo, you would want him to go fast like a rabbit and try to run at Rodriguez to soften him up for Crudo. Unfortunately, Uncaged races from behind. So again, this horse to me, he was no factor in his last race in the Peter Pan Stakes. I don't see where they think that this horse can make a jump in this race. His highest buyer speed figure is just 84 on average over the last 20 years in the Belmont. It's taken a buyer speed figure of 101 to win the Belmont. This horse is just too slow, doesn't belong in here, total pitch.
Oh, that is not what I wanted to hear. Maybe Sean Alvarez has something I would rather hear. Crudo, 15-1 here in the middle of the pack. Sean, tell me about this pony.
Yeah, I keep getting horses with, big human connections, and we get another Todd Pletcher trained horse and Johnny V riding the horse, but also this horse is owned by Bobby Flay. So obviously big hopes and dreams going into this Belmont, but I really just see the number 5 Crudo as causing fits to, that Bob Baffert trained horse that I just referred to in the number 3 Rodriguez. This horse has back-to-back wins, winning over 7 lengths, but like Marco mentioned in the buyer speed figures that you need to win the Belmont, this horse would need a big jump. Even with his last race being an 84 buyer speed figure, he's going to need another 17 points just to kind of compete against these type of fields. And with that race being an unlisted stakes race at Pimlico on the Preakness undercard, the question is again, who did he beat? How fast can he go? And how's he going to respond when he's really headed by, a quality field and, especially a horse that we'll be going over later and the number 7 Journalism, who's possibly the best 3-year-old colt in the, in this grouping this year. So like I said, the real question is, when he faces this type of field, how's he going to respond? Because he's probably going to go fast and early as soon as those gates open.
All right, a little background on Marco D'Angelo. He actually owns, breeds, and races horses. He's done so since 1986. So when Marco shares his selections, you're getting information from someone that knows that sport inside and out. Get Marco's selections for the Belmont, including all of his Major League Baseball, NBA, and NHL plays for $39. You get to save $10 with coupon code Belmont10. Marco Baeza currently 4-1 here. Tell me what your thoughts are.
Well, this is a colt that's only got 5 career starts. He got a late start to get on the Kentucky Derby trail. He did make it into the Derby, but he had to wait till the last minute to find out he was going to get in because he was the number 21 horse in points. Once there was a scratch in the race, he got in, and boy, he made the most of it. He had to leave from the outside, but he finished a blockbuster third, flying in the stretch. And over the last 16th of a mile in the Kentucky Derby, he was the fastest horse in the race. Now, with that said, he's still got to deal with Journalism and Sovereignty. I think he's making up the ground in every start. You look at his buyer speed figures, every race he has raced was faster buyer speed figure than the previous race. That means this horse has not hit his peak yet. He skipped the Preakness to point to the Belmont, as did Sovereignty. That's an edge that's going to help him against Journalism, who, as Sean said, might be the best 3-year-old in the country. I can't argue with that. But Journalism is the only horse that raced all 3 races of the Triple Crown Series, which means that's 3 races in 5 weeks. This horse is going to be fresh. I think he's going to be sitting right off the pace, right there with Journalism. The question's going to be, is he going to be coming off of Journalism's back, or is Journalism going to come off his back when they're turning for home? We'll have more about that when we give you our actual selections at the end of the show.
All right, Sean, Journalism right now, the odds-on favorite, but he is towards the outside here. Do you think that that is going to be a benefit or a detriment to this horse winning this race?
You know, like Marco had mentioned, as far as the running style for Journalism, he doesn't necessarily need to, lead the race or, press that kind of pace. So he's going to come from a little bit off of it. I don't necessarily think that the post position affects him, and especially in, a smaller field that we're going to see with an 8-horse field. So I definitely do not, I'm not going to hold, the outside post position against Journalism. And like I had mentioned, I do think that this is the most proven horse, and probably the best 3-year-old in the country right now, as far as what he's done and as far as what he's proven. And I'm pretty sure Marco agrees with me. If Umberto waits a little bit longer in the Kentucky Derby, we may be talking about or thinking about a possible Triple Crown with this horse. So I do like the way that he's running. Coming into this race, and we saw a really rough trip in the Preakness. Umberto was asking a little bit early than I'm sure that he expected, and then at some point it looked like Umberto and Journalism was parallel with the track after bumping into the rail horse and trying to feed through that opening. But like Marco mentioned, the biggest question mark about this horse is he's the only horse that's run in all 3 races in the Triple Crown, and on top of that, this is going to be his 5th race since March. So he's definitely had a long and tiring campaign leading up to this Belmont Stakes, but he, at the end of the day, it may be that he's just too good for this type of crop.
All right, Marco, another long shot to finish us up here. Heart of Honor currently sitting at 30-1.
Well, Heart of Honor is a good story. If you like feel-good stories, it's a dad and a daughter trainer, and the daughter is the jockey on the horse. 7 career starts, 2 wins in 4 seconds, but all of that was overseas. They shipped over here to race in the Preakness. The horse finished 5th in the Preakness. Now, this horse did finish 2nd to the Japanese horse that did show up for the Derby, but raced poorly in the Derby. And that 5th place finish in the Preakness, the only horses that they beat in the Preakness were the horses that got interfered with when all of the bumper cars were going on in the stretch. They were able, because they were far back, to avoid all the trouble and ran on to be 5th. I think Heart of Honor is no factor in this race, not fast enough to go with these horses. I will say the horse will race better the second start in the United States. That usually is what happens. But still, if you look at the Beyer speed figures, got too much ground to make up. This is a pitch for me. All
right, that is your 8-horse field for the Belmont Stakes. Sean Alvarez, I'm going to let you go first. Please give me your selections. Give me any tries, exactas. Break it down for our audience.
Now, I'm really going to lean on the number 6, Baeza, coming into this race. I truthfully thought that he ran the best race in the Kentucky Derby. Flavian tried to save ground coming into the inside. He was bothered throughout, tried to swing outside. It just seemed like Flavian was trying to, cut corners, deservedly so, in a Kentucky Derby type field where, you can't go 8, 9, 10 wide and sweep the field unless you're easily the best horse. And obviously he wasn't that given day. So I like the way that he ran in that Kentucky Derby race. I like the way that he was leading up into that race. He gets a little bit of a refreshment while skipping the Preakness. And I just really think that he's going to run a really big effort come Saturday. Love that Flavian's still sticking aboard. And then my second choice is no surprise. It's going to be with the favorite, number 7, Journalism. I just think he's the best horse in the crop as far as what he's proven, leading up into the Kentucky Derby, but is also how we ran in the Kentucky Derby, as well as winning the Preakness with a really rough trip like Marco and I had mentioned. So those are going to be my top 2 picks that I'm going to lean on up top in exactas and trifectas. I'm going to have a little bit of a saver on the number 3, Rodriguez. As I mentioned, he is kind of the class of the pace horses that are coming into this race. And we've seen it before where, maybe the number 5 Crudo completely misses the break. Maybe he runs off on Johnny V and just kind of becomes more of a rabbit. So we've seen Bob Baffert type horses where kind of be, the forgotten horse and, leaning on watching out for Baeza or journalism or sovereignty. So I'm going to have a little bit of a saver in more of a pick 3s, pick 4s, and pick 5s with Rodriguez. And then my 4th choice is the number 2, Sovereignty. I was kind of going back and forth with him and Hill Road. I just like the price on Hill Road, obviously. I'm completely fading Sovereignty up top. I'll have a little bit of favor. I'll have a little bit of savers going into exactas and trifecta tickets. But if Sovereignty wins the Belmont Stakes, I'm most likely losing out on all my exactas and trifectas.
All right, Marco, same for you, and exactly the same for you. Just a little bit different order. Tell me why.
Kelly, yeah, we're about the same. I just want to tell the clients that we also have a special going over at WagerTalk right now. Johnny wanted me to mention it, so I got to run this by you real fast. We've got a yearly special. Now, our yearly price, that's 12 months, everything, every sport, every special event like the Triple Crown races is included. Normally $19.99. Right now, we are running it 12 months, $99 a month. Comes out to just $1,188. And we are on a roll right now. 11-1 the last 5 days, last 12 days, 21-6. Number 1 in baseball this season. Number 1 in the NBA, money won since 2020. Number 1 in hockey since 2021. Money won in WNBA, 31-13 the last 2 seasons. So there's no better time to jump on board. And a little pun, I'm seeing things really clearly right now. And that's for you, Kelly, because I had cataract surgery last week. So I am seeing things clearly right now. Jump on board. And as far as this race, Sean and I were in total agreement on the winner and second place horse. I've been on Baeza since the Santa Anita Derby. I was on him big in that race. He finished second to journalism. I told everybody in the Kentucky Derby that the best horse in the race might not even get to race because he was also eligible. And I said, do not leave him off your ticket if he gets in. And he got in, and I didn't leave him off my ticket, and he rounded out my trifecta on that first Saturday in May. I liked that the connections skipped the Preakness to point to this race. And with the shorter field, like Sean said, he had trouble in the Derby, and he was running the best race at the end of the race. I like Baeza. He's a horse on the improve. Journalism, you can't fault anything about him, but I have the concern about the 3 races in 5 weeks. I think that's going to be the difference where Baeza gets on top. Sovereignty, he'll be flying late. He'll be, watching the battle. If Baeza and journalism have a knock down, drag them out battle, down the stretch from the top of the head of the stretch to the finish, oftentimes what ends up happening is a horse can come off the back of those 2 that were battling, and that would be Sovereignty. And for me, I'm putting Rodriguez 4th. And the reason being with that, he is the only true speed in this race. I know Crudo's going to go, but they know that they are not as good as Rodriguez on the front end. I think Crudo's going to try to sit second, and that might just let Rodriguez get away with soft fractions, which we've seen Bob Baffert do this many times with horses. If you let them get loose on the lead, they can hang on. And I always think back to Authentic, because he ran over a big ticket for me I had that day in a pick 6. But we'll go ahead and put him fourth if he hangs on. Remember, Rodriguez was scratched from the Derby and skipped the Preakness because of a foot injury. It wasn't a serious foot injury. It was a quarter crack, but those take time to heal, and you got to back off some on the training. So this is a horse that hasn't raced in 63 days. He may need a race and might get a little tired late in the lane. That's why I have him fourth and not higher.
All right. Thank you to Marco D'Angelo. Thank you to Sean Alvarez. I am Kelly Stewart. We always appreciate you guys here hanging out on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Make sure you give that like, hit that subscribe button, and of course, check out our other videos.